So cross-site scripting is a vulnerability that affects web applications, and is characterized by an attacker being able to run arbitrary JavaScript code within the browser of the person that they're attacking. So if you envision a typical web application, you have the user over here with a computer, and he's sending a web request to a server over here. So this is a web app. And this request can be anything like sending a form, for example, that they filled out, so like a contact form. So let's imagine they send over their first name and their last name, and then the web application responds with a page that says, hello, first name, last name. So it echoes back what the person submitted into the form. And that's pretty common for applications to do things like that. Where the cross-site scripting vulnerability occurs is if the web application takes potentially dangerous data and it echoes that back to the user. So let's say that instead of, for my first name, instead of putting in my actual first name, I put in script alert So I put in a string which contains some JavaScript code instead of my actual first name. So what's going to happen? That's going to get sent over to the web application. The web application is going to take that data, it's going to generate a page that says hello, and instead of first name, it's going to put in that string of JavaScript that I submitted. My browser is then going to see this script tag, and it's going to execute that code. So in my browser, I'm going to see a little pop-up window that says hi, instead of seeing that whole string. The browser is going to interpret that and execute it. So a little window says hi. That's pretty boring. Obviously, that just does nothing more than annoy a user. And it's pretty obvious that something is going on there. In a real cross-site scripting attack, if somebody were actually attacking you and trying to do something useful, you wouldn't have it do a pop-up. You might have it steal a session credential. You might write JavaScript that captures keystrokes. You can do a lot with JavaScript. You might have JavaScript that goes through, iterates across every form on the page. Let's say it's a login page, for example. And it goes through the whole page programmatically and replaces the action to the form, to where instead of submitting your username and password to the real application, the JavaScript causes your username and password to be sent to the attacker over here instead. And they could even make it so where it gets sent down here and then it redirects it to the web app, so you don't know what actually is going on. You don't actually know that your data is going somewhere else. So you can do a lot of different things with JavaScript. How do you actually get somebody to fall for one of these things? They're not going to type this into their browser themselves. They're not going to type JavaScript strings into their browser. The way it usually works is somebody will send you a link. So imagine that submitting this form took the form of a link that was like, in fact, I'm just going to erase this. Say it was http example.com. First name equals this, or whatever I want to replace it with. So first name equals script, whatever. Okay? So if I can send that link to somebody and get them to click on it, then essentially what they're going to be doing is sending that request to the web application and getting back the response that causes the JavaScript to execute. So I can send that link to somebody in a number of different ways. I could send them an email. Let's say this is a bank. I could send them an email spoofing it to make it look like it came from the bank. Oh, your account is out of whack, or we noticed a fraudulent transaction. You need to click on this link and log into the bank. We have a message for you to read, or something like that. A lot of people won't fall for that, but a lot of people will. If it looks official, people will just click the link without thinking. Another common way to do this, especially recently with the trend of URL shorteners, is somebody will send you a link like tinyurl.com/ some characters after it, and just say, oh, check out this cool story that I just read, and you'll click on the link to go to what you think is maybe a newspaper site or something like that. But in reality, this will redirect you to a URL that contains an attack. So more and more these days, especially with sites like Twitter and Facebook and things that take advantage of link shortening services, you'll see tiny URLs and bit.lys and things like that people will tend to click on. So you can easily fool somebody into clicking on a link these days. So that's one form of a cross-site scripting attack called the reflected cross-site scripting.